Thank you, everyone, for joining the DataPride Tableau user group on this day, July 22nd, for our 4-year anniversary event. We are so excited to have you all here and to be able to have this event today. My name is Lawrence Durbin. Our agenda is some welcome and housekeeping. We're going to go 4 years in the making. This is our 4-year anniversary event to the day, actually. And then we're going to hear about design with intent from sketch to screen from AJ, and Viz or Bust, my journey to the tip battle finals and the tips that got me there by Kat. We are so excited to have these presenters and to have all of you here with us today. As a reminder, as always, the DataPride Tableau user group is a virtual community space to highlight, elevate, and bring together the LGBTQ plus community in data and its allies. And this has been our mission statement for 4 years now. We want, just with a little bit of the housekeeping, Tableau Ambassador applications and nominations are open, and they did just extend it. Originally, it was until the 16th, but now you have until the 23rd to help us find our 2026 Tableau Ambassadors, whether that's yourself, who are always the best self-advocates for yourself, as well as anyone who you see as being an ambassador in the community. Check out the QR code here. Check it out in the Tableau community Slack and on the webpage, and nominate our next ambassadors. As I said, my name is Lawrence Durbin. I am one of your DataPride Tug leadership team, along with Michael McCusker and Jesus Tomas. We are so excited to be here, to have this leadership team, and to really be going forward. Now, let's talk 4 years in the making. Our first DataPride Tableau user group event was on July 22nd, 2022, so literally to the day. Our agenda just was an overview of the Tableau DataPride Tableau user group, and we had a Pride Month in review. Our first presenters were Elisa Davis and Kevin Wee 4 years ago. And even, having showed this slide from way back then to the right, we see, things have changed so much over the years, and we still have these two great individuals in the community who have been supporters. Kevin was just presenting to us last month. In the 4 years, we've had 549 members, 20 plus events, over 30 speakers, 3 in-person Tableau conference meetups. There's 2 chapters of DataPride, our DataPride New York City chapter in New York, and this, our global virtual chapter. We've done collabs with Back to Viz Basics, Makeover Monday, Workout Wednesday, and so many more. And you see on the right, we've done so many different things. Talking about what the LGBTQ plus Tableau user group is, our in-person TC event. It's been 4 years of just absolute amazingness with the Data Fam and DataPride all together. We've built a community, and the support from Tableau and Salesforce and just the Data Fam in general has been absolutely phenomenal. We've been able to do so much and continue, hopefully, over the next 4 and more years to do so much more. We want to do a big thank you to everyone, not just our speakers, so many of these are, but former co-leads, current co-leads, graphic designers, leads of our different chapters, just individuals who have supported us. These are just, the pictures here and the individuals shown are just a small bit of all the support we get from our members who show up to our events, who have talked about the DataPride Tableau user group, who have participated in our collabs, who have just been here since day one. We would not be able to do any of this without every single one of you. So thank you. And we hope that you will continue to support us as we keep going, as join in our collabs, our events, Ask to be a speaker. We always want new people to come and speak, to come help, plan an event, do all the different things. So thank you. Now, that was a really little bit high level of the last 4 years for us. And so in this event, we want to get down into the nitty gritty and get into our presentations. So let's start first with AJ. Thank you for joining.
Awesome. Thank you so much. First of all, congratulations on the 4 years anniversary. It is absolutely huge. Uh, yeah, doing it since 1 year, it's been so tough, and you guys have been doing it for 4 years. That is, yeah, really amazing job.
Thank you so much.
That I'll share my screen. Awesome. Yes. So today I'll be talking about design with intent from sketch to screen. This was my Tableau conference presentation as well. Uh, and a little bit about myself. I'm Ajay Vishnu Addala. I'm a senior consultant with Eigenx. Yes, like the eigenvalue, we do end-to-end data consulting. And I lead the Philadelphia Tableau user group as well. And I am a Data Farm Rising Star 2025 and 2026. So along with running the Philadelphia Tableau user group, I also run for coffee and beer. So I'm a Manium bean runner on Saturday mornings and Manium beer runner on Monday evenings, where we as a group run and hit new breweries and new coffee places in the Manium area in Philadelphia. And this is a photo of me where I hit my 5K PR in the Shamrock Run during St. Patrick's Day. And here is my profile on Untapped, where, yes, we are data people, so we tend to record our beer count as well. So I do my check-ins of beers in the app. And that was my count before I presented TC. And now I crossed over 110 unique beers overall. So that was my year-end goal, but I crossed it already. Having said that, now you know that I am a huge beer lover, and that is what we are going to talk about in this presentation as well. So the agenda for today, what will be brewing throughout the presentation, we'll be talking about a business scenario of a made-up brewery, where you'll meet the brewery and the data and understand what the business needs are. And then we go over the dashboard design playbook, where we run through from the idea to the final dashboard, where from the sketch to the final screen, and what we can take back throughout this entire process. Meet our fictional company, Hoppy Trails Brewing Company, turning hops into happiness. They have amazing beers, but yes, their reporting is very bad. That is why they hired me to help with their reporting needs. So understanding the data of the Hoppy Trails. So we do have customer data who are buying our beers, in which geography in the entire United States are we selling the beer, what are our different products, where are we getting our orders from, and metrics like profit, sales, and regions. And then, yes, right around the time we got an email from the manager, what could it possibly be? Of course, can can I build a dashboard for them using the data? Uh, yes. So understanding the requirements of what they exactly want. Number one, they want an overall performance, revenue metrics, the profit metrics, what is driving the results, and a little bit of product insights and deeper analysis, maybe using of the transactions and the sales. Yes. So, what is one problem that we all run into? What are the most, where do most of our dashboards go wrong? As you can see, this poor guy, he literally looks like he needs a beer. Yes. So, what are the common pitfalls? The major pitfall is when we directly start in Tableau. So, that is one common mistake. Yes, really. So, never directly jump into Tableau. If we do that, we lack proper structure we don't have proper structure of thoughts of what exactly we need, which results in multiple iterations that we need to do once we develop a dashboard. For the end user, it lacks clarity of what exactly the dashboard is trying to show. So to overcome this is the design playbook. It's a 3-step layout where we start with a sketch and then we move the sketch into a wireframing tool. And in this presentation, we will be leveraging Figma, which is one of the wireframing tool. And then is when we finally jump into the Tableau, which is the final step. Yes, expanding a bit more, sketches where it helps us focus on what is really important based on the requirements. A mockup tool is where we bring to life and we the entire dashboard that how it will look in Tableau. And the final build phase is when we actually jump into Tableau. Yes, coming to the first one, the sketch, think with a pencil. Quick thumbs up of whoever does sketch before developing in Tableau. Awesome. It's great if anyone is already doing it. For anyone who is not doing it yet, we are definitely going to change that today. Awesome. Yes. So based on the requirements, here was my first draft. Please don't judge my drawing and handwriting. So I don't blame you if you don't understand some of the handwriting. Even I don't understand some of my scribblings when I. But that is the idea. This needs to be rough and like messy. So as you can see, the first idea is like we have a logo, we have 3 navigation pages, and we have our KPIs here. And here is my attempt to draw a beer bottle showing the units sold. Yes, and here was my attempt to draw a US map. And we have a trend line of profit. And then we have sales by channel, sales by loyalty, and sales by category. So that is the idea. And if you are sketching, one major thing that you have to see that your mockup shouldn't be anything better than this. It should be definitely worse than this. That is your marker. You are not supposed to use rulers and pencils and exactly measure stuff. Everything should be freehand, rough. The idea is that you do this as quickly as possible, keeping everything like the requirements in mind. Yeah, why does this matter? How does this help save hours? So this just 10 minutes process will in turn help us in saving like hours of rework. So what this does is it helps you focus. So you list down everything that you could potentially show based on the requirements. Say you listed down like 10 KPIs and then you prioritize. So out of this 10, which makes more sense to be in my overview page or executive summary page? It helps us prioritize and then avoids rework again. So it helps save time and even feedback. So sometimes when we do it with the stakeholders or clients, instead of a pen and paper, we probably do it on a whiteboard where we roughly sketch things and like list different things. That even helped us get initial feedback from the client where we can get a lot of insights that could potentially go in the wireframe. So it saved feedback time as well. That brings us to the next step, which is mockup. And remember, we are not still jumping into Tableau. The mockup is done, in this case, in Figma. Yes, this was the initial sketch, which now translated to a mockup in Figma. So comparing them side by side, so you can see we brought most of the elements here. So we got the navigation pane, we got our KPIs, our trends, our map and charts. And when you bring it to the mockup, sometimes you change it as well. Sometimes it might happen that you had different ideas during the initial sketch and you updated it in the mockup. So that can happen. And that is how it's supposed to happen based on the feedback. And yes, so we can go through a step-by-step approach of how the mockup is built. So we start with an initial frame where we decide the width and height of the entire frame, which is the fixed dashboard in Tableau. And then these are our elements where we can give a width and height and also padding. And then Sorry. My bad. Sorry about that. Oh, yes. Yes, we decide a width and height of the entire dashboard, which is our fixed dashboard. Then we give individual elements, like the left pane is our navigation pane, where we can define the width and height of the navigation pane and the padding. And each individual element, like our title page, our individual KPIs. You Once you click on anything, you can even see the width and height on the element as well. And all these are shapes, and they can be adjusted based on how you exactly want them, and align them exactly how the final visual will be, or final dashboard will be. That brings us to the second step, which is testing our colors. Most companies already have their color palette, but in this case, they don't. So we pick the colors from their website and their logo. And here is where we are testing out the different colors that we could give to the navigation and the panel. So here are three versions where I was testing which colors I could potentially use. And yes, I went with the second option, where I chose the dark green colors for both navigation and the title pane. That brings us to the third step, which is fonts, colors, and charts. Uh, just a disclaimer, all these are fake numbers. There is no data assigned to any of it. You can give fake numbers as you want. Uh, all these are just typed in numbers. And as you can see, you can exactly define and see, or even the charts, all of these are just shapes, a line and then a bar that we like attach to it. And you can see the pie chart as well. It is just three circles overlapped on one another to form a pie chart, or a donut chart. And for this, I already have a custom charts that I built previously in Figma, which I use for all my other new mockups that I built. I can also share the link of all of these, which you can use later. As you can see, there are filter options as well. I have a bar chart. Yes. That brings us to that concludes the step 3, where we decide the fonts, colors, and charts. And now that brings us, yes. So why does wireframing matter? It helps us explore different options. Say initially you started with, in your rough sketch, you started with maybe a bar chart. And in the wireframe, you can actually test different options. Say you can bring in a bar chart and a donut chart and see which makes more sense to the business, which helps us answer the questions better. And you can play around and switch them there. And it's much easier than doing the changes in Tableau. With Figma being fake data, you don't have to really worry about which fields you need to bring in. So you can have a rough draft of a bar chart, you can just put it there and see which makes more sense. And you can even make the changes much faster, which we'll see in the next step. And alignment with the stakeholders, you can show this mockup to your stakeholders to get feedback from them, and then make changes before we jump into Tableau. And overall, it helps us get better with the efficiency. Yes, we're all good with the wireframe, but wait. Of course, we get an email from manager right now. What could this possibly be? This is the feedback that we need to incorporate. So we shared the wireframe with the manager or the stakeholder, and now they wanted to make few tweaks into the wireframe before we jump into Tableau. And the few feedback items that they want is to add a metric toggle between the revenue and profit. So as you remember, we had just showing the revenue. They want to show profit as well in the toggle. And add a breakdown in category. They want a drill down, which once we click on a category, it drills down to the subcategory. And adding a region filter on top, which users can select which region of sales that they want to see. Yes. So now to incorporate this feedback, how exactly, so that brings to the step 4, which is iterations. they want a filter on the top right, and in the revenue trend they want a toggle button between revenue and profit, and then revenue by category, they want to click on one category and drill it down. We duplicate the entire dashboard, and I have the elements that I need for the changes ready. So we have the region filter, the revenue profit toggle, and the subcategory drill down. So we just pull the region filter onto the dashboard, and we pull the revenue profit onto the dashboard as well, only for that specific visual. So those first two changes are implemented in the wireframe, just like that, with ease and like saving time. And for showing the drill down into the revenue by category, we duplicate the entire sheet, entire dashboard again, and we get rid of the revenue by category. Here is where we need the revenue by category drill down. So I'll copy this and bring it here. As you can see, we are drilling down into the category light and crisp beers. Now we have two different views, and now is when we can leverage the prototype option in Figma, where I'm telling, if I click on this visual, and it will bring me to this screen, and I can show, does this happen on click, on hover, on drag, what action triggers it. In our case, it's click. When I click on the category, it should bring me to the subcategory page. And again, when I click on the subcategory, it takes me back to the original page, which is the category. So that is how we implemented the change. And to look at how do we do this prototyping overall to the entire dashboard, because most of our clients or stakeholders, they prefer to see some action before they see a Tableau dashboard, some actions that work in the prototype as well. So here is our prototype, where you can see we have the select region. I'll come back to why the select region dropdown isn't working. And we have revenue profit switching. As you can see, once I click the button there, it switches between revenue and profit. And for revenue by channel and loyalty, we don't have any actions ready. We only did the action for revenue by category. You can see once I hover over it, I can see a small tooltip that says click to drill down to product type. Once I click on it, it drilled down to light and crisp. And once I click back on the visual, it takes me back. But as you can see, once I click on hoppy beers, it still takes me to light and crisp. I'll come back to why we didn't include that as well. Now, looking at how the back end of this works, back to Figma. So the polished prototype is basically you're duplicating different screens. And as you can see in the prototype, clearly telling if I click on something, it should go to the next screen. And if we specifically look at the category drill down, so I'm giving it two actions. One is I'm saying, while I hover over this, show me a second screen. And when I click on it, show me. In our second screen, we have the tooltip, where if you remember, we were hovering over it and it showed us the tooltip. And if I clicked on it, it takes me to light and crisp. So for both the actions, we need two duplicates. That is how. And why didn't we add the region drop down? And if I click on, so just, yes, looking at the screen. So earlier, if I clicked on the filter, we weren't able to, I think, yeah. So show filter, once I clicked on the region, nothing happened. The drop down didn't appear. And even towards the end, if I clicked on hoppy beer, it didn't drill down to hoppy beers. So this is because that is possible in Figma. We can actually incorporate those changes as well. But that defeats the purpose of saving time. So to get those also done, we need to create like multiple more dashboard views in Figma, duplicating them. So that will end up being a whole new project again. The entire idea of a wireframing tool is to save time. So this gives an idea to my stakeholders that, okay, select region is possible, but I don't actually need to show the dropdown and give an action that I click on West and the dashboard filters to west. The same thing with revenue by category. This gives an idea to my stakeholder that if I click on a specific bar that drills down, that doesn't mean I have to give the action to each and every bar here. Overall, one action would be fine. It will save time and also gives an idea to the stakeholder. And yes, awesome. That brings us to the final aligned and approved final wireframe. Now that we have proper structure, we have proper clarity, our stakeholders have proper clarity what to expect. And we do have confidence here because we are not guessing anymore. We built exactly based on the feedback that they want. We send the updated wireframe to the stakeholders. They exactly know what to expect rather than them guessing and we guessing what they want. And yes, how can we leverage AI in this situation? Because with new AI tools coming, that will probably help us with the designing as well. So just as an example, I spent 30 minutes on Claude and 30 minutes on Stitch, giving the details of what exactly I need in the dashboard. And yes, so it both of the tools gave me most of the things right. But where they were failing is with example to Claude, it failed to give me a US map. And also the top states, it wasn't covering the entire container. It was occupied only in the middle. And even with Stitch, some of the some of the features are too difficult to get in Tableau. I was more looking to a simpler dashboard. And when it comes to even the changes, right? So when this tool gives me this output, and then I again need to export it to Figma and make the changes myself, which again defeated the purpose. And to summarize, like, how does the three different ways stand? So us being data people, putting them into KPIs. So if I directly build in Tableau, so it takes me like 10 hours, but I do have like 100% control of every small element, the color, the padding, everything. While using Figma and then jumping into Tableau, it cuts down my time to like almost 20%, where I spend 2 hours, but I do have 100% control on everything that I can do. Whereas when I leverage the AI tools, it definitely took me much less time. It took me 30 minutes, but I had much less control. If I need 100% control, I had to bring it back to Figma, and then again, it defeated the purpose of saving time. But yes, but even though we don't have control right now, with the AI tools like developing with Claude Design, developing with every new version, hopefully we'll get to 100% control very soon and have it like in 30 minutes done. So the AI tools in the future, I hope they help us like reduce the time and help us have 100% control of the changes that we want. With this, it brings us to the best step of building it in Tableau. And as I mentioned that the AI tools are not ready yet, as you can see, this image is generated with ChatGPT, and no one in their right mind will actually click build on a laptop or a desktop screen. The AI tools are not there yet. And yes, this is our Figma design that we had, and this is what we ended up building in Tableau. And comparing them side by side, as you can see, the designs match and we add more details in Tableau. And just as an example, if you can see here, the percentage change, we updated it in Tableau. And this happens as well. So when we move to Tableau, we do get feedback in between as well, and we incorporate it when we are building too. So that happens as well. And yes, and just to show the Tableau dashboard, here we can actually see the drop down because this is a real dashboard. And in our Tableau dashboard, we also had tooltips for each and every visual. We can see the revenue and profit switch. And then each of our charts here are filterable. So if you click on anything, that filters the entire dashboard. The same works with our loyalty segment as well. and then our revenue by product category. If you click on something, that drills down to the specific category, dark and rich. Clicking back will bring it back to the original view. And one additional feature we added is revenue by state. So if you click on any state, that drills down to that specific state and highlights the cities in the given state. And checking the filter action, if you click on any specific region, that filters the entire dashboard to that specific region as well. So that is our final Tableau dashboard that we built based from beginning. And yes, finally, once the dashboard is delivered, a happy stakeholder, and the golden words, which we often don't get to hear, this is exactly what they needed. And yes, that brings us to the conclusion. And for anyone who was observing, throughout the slides, we had a beer glass at the right corner, and it kept decreasing as we went with the slides. And yes, who stops at one beer, right? Yes, it's time for round two. And here are the key takeaways. So steal this playbook. If you scan the QR code, it takes you to a blog explaining the entire process in detail. I'll just keep the slide for a few seconds. And then, yes. So just to conclude, do not start in Tableau. I can't stress this more. That is a major error, starting error. Start with a sketch and then wireframe, and then finally go to Tableau and build the dashboard. It will help us in faster and better dashboards overall. And yes, so this is one more example where I implemented the same thing. This was my IronWiz 2026 submission. And yes, of course, this was also on beer. This is like the history of beer from 7000 BC to currently, like how it is. I started with a sketch and then I built this in Figma. I needed a background and also rounded edges. Back then, Tableau didn't have rounded corners, so I had to do it in Figma. And this is my final dashboard. You can check it on my Tableau public. And yes, great dashboards are like great beer, balanced, clear, and easy to enjoy by your own data brewer myself. Awesome. Thank you so much. Yes, I'm open to any questions.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, AJ. We do have and honestly, going through that, it's been great. And like thinking about utilizing the wireframes from the sketches and going in is absolutely fantastic. It helps, like you said, with gaining that alignment. And while it might take a little bit of time and not build time, it's probably going to be easier in the long run. And you know what you're going to build. Though when you were showing the AI versions, the amount of white space Claude put in there for the bands was a little too much for my eyes. We do have a question. From Susan, do you do any data investigation before getting into the wireframe, identifying that the number of segments makes sense for a donut chart, for example?
Yes, definitely. So that is the first part where we understand the data and understand the requirements as well. Because, yeah, the same point. So it shouldn't be like they have like 10 segments and I show only 3 in a donut, which doesn't make sense. So we just definitely need to get a picture of the data and then jump into the web. That's a great question.
Fantastic. What other questions? Anyone? Comments?
I have a quick question, AJ. Excellent presentation. You demonstrated to us that using wireframing is faster, but logically, or how people generally think, or their initial reaction is, hey, that's going to take longer. They're going to this tool, they're going to that tool. Do you have a sort of like quick elevator pitch where you convince your stakeholder, oh, no, this approach is faster, doesn't take longer, if that makes sense?
Yes. So what happens when you gave us the requirements and then we started building dashboards is that every single time we show them a change or we show them the developed dashboard, they come up with a ton of feedback. We go back, build it again, we go back again. And in the meantime, in the feedback incorporating the feedback, maybe it'll take like maybe a sprint or 2 weeks. They get new changes again in those 2 weeks. And then this keeps on happening, and we end up never going into production. It's always in development. But what helped is, let me show you in the first 2 weeks of wireframe. You give me a feedback, and making the changes in the wireframe are a lot quicker. Maybe I'll get to them in a couple of days, where we don't get new flooding requirements, and they like maybe they give one change there, and then we go into development. So, and even the changes that they need, making them in Tableau is much more time taking. Say it'll be a simple change for them, and then making the parameter changes and the calculation changes, it's huge in Tableau.
It's such a familiar story to, I think, probably everybody on this call. Like, you never get around because you're still changing. So, love
One thing
this.
I observed is one of my stakeholders or clients, they were never used to wireframing, but when I was brought in, I showed them this, and the end result, they were very happy since then. So they look for wireframes after that as well. So if anyone is not using it and they want to propose it to the stakeholders, that would be a good addition as well. So a lot of them would love it to see a mock-up beforehand, so that they get a feel of how it could potentially be.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Great overall presentation. Makes me think about wireframing and doing all that and just that process. So thank you. Fantastic. So thank you, AJ, again. Now we've got Kat Rocha. Kat, hello, welcome.
Hello, thank you all for having me. I'm super excited to present. And AJ, that was a phenomenal session. I didn't get to go to your Tableau conference session. And so I'm super excited that I was able to catch it this time around, because I've been starting to use wireframes a lot and was able to be like, oh yeah, I do that, or now I can do that. So yeah, super exciting. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen, and then we can go ahead and get started. And I will note, I was having some weird internet issues. So I am hoping, if anything happens, let me know. Like if I'm breaking out or anything like that happens, please let me know. All right, let me go ahead and share my entire screen. All right, so before I begin, I'm gonna quickly introduce myself for those of you who do not know me. But hello, I'm Kat. I'm the senior BI developer at HealthRise, which is like a tech healthcare firm. In my day-to-day, you'll find me building, standardizing, and streamlining our Tableau infrastructure and products to reduce manual data work and focus more on strategy. Having gone through the job search, sorry, I took this directly from the session that I did, and it was about career advancement. But outside of my day-to-day using Tableau, you'll find me hiking, climbing, backpacking, doing all the things outdoors. I'm also building out a camper van to travel, so that should be fun. Listening to all kinds of music, and also, as you can see in my collage of photos, cropping my dog Larry into all my photos is also a pastime of mine. All right. So I wanted to also provide a quick intro to my experience presenting at the TC Tip Battle, in addition to going through my Tableau tips, because it's kind of a unique experience, and some people don't really know about what the Tableau Tip Battle is. So just to give an overview of what it is, it's essentially a session that they've been doing for quite a while. It was started by folks by the DataFam members, so folks within the TC community or the Tableau community. And it's a battle where folks present their most used, their most fancy, their most voila tips in Tableau and kind of compete against one another. We have a set of judges that allows folks to move on to the next and to ultimately the final round. So there were 8 of us as contestants this past Tableau conference. We had Preeti and Anushki, who are our presenters, and I'm not exactly sure the process of choosing the contestants, but reached out to a handful of folks asking if anyone would want to present. And at first I was like, do I want to do this? I really don't like public speaking. Like, it makes me so anxious. But I do remember attending, not this past year's, but the 2025 Tableau Tip Battle, and learning so much and thinking it was so cool, and kind of just shot my shot. I was like, if folks do it, like, I'll just practice, I'll learn, I'll, throw my hat in the ring. So that's what I did. And it was a lot of preparation, a lot of outsourcing to various folks that would meet with me and just tell me about their favorite tips, their favorite hacks. Because as we all know, there's not one way to do something in Tableau. It's a variety of ways. And it's a lot of hacking. So there's always a way to do something in Tableau, or mostly always a way, but it's not always a native feature. And so I wanted to understand and outsource like what everyone's favorite hack was. And essentially I built a giant workbook because, as you can tell, there's 8 contestants, right? And so a very rational fear is that you'll have a lineup of your tips and then not knowing what the order of presentation is, of like who's presenting. Someone could present your tip. And so that was a very big fear of mine going in. And so I had a 20 plus tip workbook ready to go. And after better understanding all the tips that I wanted to present I started seeing a common theme. The first half of my tips were all about worksheet efficiency. So what are some hacks that will make developing in a worksheet, building out a metric, et cetera, in a worksheet very quick, whether it's something like formatting, whether it's a hotkey, whether it's a design thing. I just started to realize that it was all about efficiency. And then I also noticed that the other half of my tips were on dashboard efficiency and development. So I broke out my workbook into small, quick wins, like small, quick worksheet efficiency wins. And then I had a very large dashboard that I was hoping, if I made it to the final round, that I could dive deeper into, because we had the structure of the tip battle is the first 2 rounds are a minute, and a minute goes so much faster than you would think. It was like 5 seconds, I swear. And then if you make it to the final round, you have 5 minutes. So that's essentially how I was able to kind of organize my tips into this workbook. You can, thank you, Michael. I was just going to drop some of that into the chat. You can definitely access this workbook. And if you want to follow along, I would download the workbook from Tableau Public. And if you want to see the Tableau Tip Battle, you can just scan this QR code. I also have a couple more links that I'm just going to drop in the chat, because I did outsource. I mean, truly, like so many tips from like Tableau celebrities. We have Lisa Trescott, we have the Florledge twins, we have a variety of folks that I outsource to, and they have some great videos that I looked at as I was preparing this video, or this workbook. So I will go ahead and get started. And if I'm short on time, I'll continue to my worksheet tips, but I'm going to spend a majority of my time on my dashboard tips. And I'm going to exit presentation mode so that I can. There we go. It's like, why is it not showing up? That's something to always prepare for. I mean, in any kind of presentation or demo, technology does not work. And that definitely showed up on my, during my presentation at the tip battle. Maybe like 30 minutes before, my Tableau crashed and I had made changes. And so it was a lot of, lots of nerves going in. Technology is not always in one's favor. All right. So to begin, this is a tip that I use in almost every one of my dashboards that I'm building out. I think is super cool because it adds web-based interactivity into a dashboard. And no one likes a clunky dashboard. No one likes something that is kind of finicky. And so I think this adds an element of flair to any Tableau dashboard, but it's essentially pairing parameter actions and dynamic zone visibility to make something in a dashboard, whether it's a navigation, like this left-hand navigation toolbar, collapse or expand, or maybe it's an info dialog box that you want to expand and collapse. But it just makes a really cool, really cool interactivity within a dashboard. And I'm going to go into it and show everyone what's under the hood. But essentially, you'll see here on this, on the top left, there's a button, and if you hover over it, it says click to collapse the left-hand navigation. So we click, and then it collapses that entire left-hand navigation that we had before. And then I can click this button, and it'll expand it for me. So it's good for either accessing more filters or for accessing more information. Oftentimes I'll have like background questions that help guide my user when looking at a dashboard if they're new users. But let's hop into this worksheet. I'm gonna load because for some reason my tablet workbook is being a bit finicky. All right, so, and again, if you download the workbook, you'll have access to these instructions. But the goal with this use case is to create a collapsible side navigation panel using parameter actions and dynamic zone visibility. So a couple of key elements that we'll need is we'll need one parameter, we'll need two calculated fields that are Boolean fields that we'll use for our dynamic zone visibility, and then we'll use two dummy fields that essentially have the string characters that we're including in our parameter. So I'm going to go ahead and walk you through what that looks like. That was also a hack, a tip if no one's ever done that before. I'm going to replicate it again. But if you ever need to find a field in your data pane, you'll just click that and find it in the data pane. But let's see, why aren't you opening? There we go. So this is the parameter. It's just a string parameter that has values expand and collapse that I'm going to call on later. I have these two Boolean fields, and it's essentially just calling on my parameter and it's saying true if it's collapse. So this is going to be my is collapse Boolean calculated field. I'm going to do the exact same thing for is expand. And then my last two fields are going to be is just going to be either collapse or expand. And to show you what it looks like inside the calculation, it's literally just collapse, right? So this needs to match whatever is going to be my parameter. That's a must. And then the other two elements are creating worksheets that have icons of either collapsing or expanding. And I really do prefer worksheets because you can do this entire thing, but I love including instructions in my tooltip. I think that's another good user and UI experience. So going back to the dashboard, I'm going to open up my dialog, my action dialog box. I'm going to hit Control-Shift-D, which is another hack. I'm going to create two parameter actions. So that's expand and collapse, which I have here. And I'll show you all what it looks like inside. My source sheet is collapse. So that was one of the worksheets that I created with the icons. My parameter we went over was to choose collapse and expand. And then my source field is going to be my dummy field that just says collapse. And another quick hack before I move on, if you ever want to select or deselect any of these elements in any box, it could be a parameter or an action box, or it could be a filter. If you just click Shift and then press the space button, it'll deselect or select for you. And I'm not going to do that because I don't want to mess with my parameter action, but wanted to share that while it was in there. And we're going to do the exact same thing for expand, but just calling on the expand worksheet and also the expand dummy calculated field. So now that we have the parameter action set up, we're going to focus on the dynamic zone visibility part of this. So I have moved in my two worksheets. You can't see the other one because it's currently using dynamic zone visibility. But for this example, we're going to go to our layout, and it's currently using the is expand Boolean calculated field. And we're doing that because it's showing up when the dashboard is expanded. And then when I close it, the collapse is going to be using is collapse as the calculated field. One thing to note, and this is super important if you're creating this navigation toolbar, is you also want to add the calculated field of dynamic zone visibility to whatever container is going to be expanding and collapsing. So that's essentially how it works, is you're expanding and you're collapsing a container using these buttons, and you're creating this experience for your user. A couple other ways that this shows up is if you want to, for example, like I mentioned before, create an information dialog box that just gives some info about what the dashboard is. For this one, I explained that it's for the tip battle and offered a couple of ways for folks to interact with me. And then I also offered an X button that people can just click on and it'll bring them back to the regular page. You can also use it for filters, where you have this expand and collapse. So those are just a couple of ways that I've been using this dynamic zone visibility and parameter action feature. Another thing that I wanted to go into is kind of hacking the dual axis thing that we have in Tableau. I love dual axes. Whenever I can incorporate them into my dashboard, I think it's super helpful to have a layer of information in a visual. But I came across this instance where I not only wanted to have a bar chart that showed me values for last year and this year, but I also wanted to have something flag when there was a discrepancy, right? When it decreased from year to year. But I can't do that using dual axis. I either have to choose one or the other. There's no tri-axis feature in Tableau, at least not natively. And so what I did is I created a calculated field that essentially, well, I've been hacked this system, but the calculated field says, okay, if my percent sales year over year is 0, right? If it's negative, if it's decreased, then give me this Unicode character. If not, blank. And then I brought that to my columns section, and it bumped up my date section to the top, and then gave me a section down here that acts as a flagger for a decrease. And then you can just go into format and change the color of it. And then I was able to bring my sales for current year and for past year into the dual axis and format in a way that I essentially have a tri-axis and a flagger on top of my sales last year and my sales this year. My next tip is going over a true-false highlighter that essentially makes it so that folks don't have to click when folks click on a visual, it doesn't highlight blue, which is always kind of finicky. I've had a couple of users think they're breaking a dashboard when they do that. So it's just it's not a very pretty feature. I found this from Sam Cohn, who has Golden Insights. She does a video tutorial. So check that out. I've linked that in the comments, but also Ken Flerlich reviewed this during his keynote in TC26 and gave a multitude of hacks or ways to do this. So make sure to check out those videos if you have any questions about how to make this happen. But essentially, you're creating two dummy fields, one that just says true and then another that says false, putting that into the detail pane of whatever visual you want to stop the blue highlighting, and then creating I'm going to click Control-Shift-D, and you're creating a filter action, oopsies, that right, you call on, this is our customer order details worksheet, as the source sheet and also the target sheet. And then you're bringing in those dummy fields, those true false dummy fields, as the source field and target field. And when you do that, it essentially makes it so that when a user clicks on any part of the visual that you just applied that to, it doesn't highlight blue. So just a cool, another cool way of making a user experience better. All right, I'm going to finish off with a couple of, I meant to click up here, with a couple of speed round tips that I use for whenever I'm building a dashboard. So if I click T, I can quickly go between dashboard and layout. I already used a couple of times this a session, but Control-Shift-D, and it brings my dialog box up. I can edit a tooltip by going up to a worksheet and clicking tooltip, right? Do that. Or, and I just found this out like 30 minutes ago, if I hit Alt-W-O, oops, let's do this again. Alt-W-O, it brings up, it's like a shortcut, like a hotkey to the tooltip, but I often hate when the command button, like this section comes up on a tooltip. So if I click on the worksheet, I do exactly what I just did, which is Alt-W-O, but then I hit I, it undoes it for me, it unclicks. And so that's just like a nice way to save some time. I can also rename worksheets on this side here on my sheet section. Rename, I can go to the sheet, duplicate sheet, I can add to the dashboard. I can also, let's say I want to switch out this worksheet for that one. Instead of bringing it in, and if I have any kind of padding that I, on my original worksheet, if I want to keep that padding in that formatting, I will just swap it out and it will keep the formatting in the new worksheet that I bring in. Let's see what else. I can come over here and name containers if I'd like to, if I want to organize. So here I have my information box and I've named it information, so I know very early on what the containers that this larger parent container holds. If you have one parent container, which I have pretty much have here, that has maybe 100 or 20 different worksheets under, if I just want to see everything that falls under this one parent container, I'll hit Shift asterisk asterisk and it expands everything for me. So that's a cool, nice tip. I can also visually see the hierarchy by just continuing to click on this top section of a container. And then if I want to create my own legend, and I'll just give some context. A lot of the times when I'm creating or using a native legend in Tableau, it looks a little finicky. It'll either cut off text or it will kind of bundle them up in a way that just looks a bit ugly. And so what I've started to do is I'm bringing in Unicode characters and creating my own legends as text boxes in Tableau. I can edit my calculated fields directly from my dashboard. I don't need to go into my worksheet by hitting analysis and either creating a calculated field or editing anything that's any of the calculated fields are in my dashboard. And then last but not least, if I want to see a data model, I don't currently have one in this feeding this dashboard, but if I wanted to see a data model, instead of going back to the data source pane and having everything reload, which sometimes in the past it has broken a dashboard of mine, depending on how complicated the data source is. But if I just want to see it visually, I'll hit Control-Shift-I, and then it'll pop up. And like I said, I don't have one, so nothing is popping up, but this is how you could access it if you did have one. I do believe that's everything, and I'm a little bit under time, but I'll open it up to questions if anybody has one.
I think right now a lot of us are just sitting here mind blown at some of those ones that you just did, especially the Alt-W-O then I, like for the tooltips. Like that one just sitting here was just like, wow. And Michael's commenting on the data model one, Control-Shift-I that you just did. Some of these tips, absolutely fantastic. I just sitting here kind of mind blown. I do love your use though of creating your legend, utilizing your own, utilizing Unicode and just creating that. Legends are they hurt. They hurt when it comes to Tableau legends. So, seeing that, I'm like, okay, that's new. I like this.
Yeah, I'm glad. Here, I'm going to stop sharing the screen so I can move back to you all. But good, I'm so excited. Yeah, I think it's one of those things that you learn about or you hear about and you're like, how did somebody figure out the shift asterisk asterisk. I was like, what? Who was there? Like,
Who created that hotkey and then didn't
It's
tell
actually-
anyone, I think.
and so the person who discovered it is Jeffrey Schaefer. Actually, he is like a legend. Yeah, so that's one of his tips that I stole. I stole a couple of these tips, and you'll find credits in the workbook. I didn't have time to credit everybody, but yeah, he's kind of a Tableau legend. So I'm not surprised that he is the one who discovered it.
Fantastic. What questions, comments, everyone?
I have a quick question, Kat. So you shared a lot of tips and you probably have your favorites, and then there are some that you can deliver really quick, some that require more explanation. I'm curious to learn, you've got, during the Tableau tip battle, you've got like 1 minute, and then I guess you go through to next round and then next round. How do you like prioritize like your tip? Like I might just have one round or I might have 4 rounds. How are you picking your tips to share during the battle?
That's a great question. It's funny. I didn't realize that we had 2 rounds of 1 minute tips, of like 1 minute tip rounds or whatever, until like 15 seconds before the session started. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to prioritize things. And then also when I saw who were the judges, I knew I had a tip for every one of those judges. Like they coined or they discovered the tip. And I was like, I can do a little bit of pandering here. And so it was a little bit of prep, kind of going back to the themes that I had for the tips. And then also like on the fly reorganization, because there were, I think in the first round after I went, folks who were continuing to go because they broke us up, so we were competing against one other person. And so for the first round, everyone competed against one other person, and you moved on to the second round after each couple went. And through that first round, a couple of folks took my tips, so it was a lot of like me in the back corner, like, oh no, like reorganizing my workbook. I'm telling you, it was chaos. It was so fun, but it was chaos.
That's an interesting glimpse behind the curtain. We did a tip battle, but it was complete WWE staged. We already prepared in advance what tips we were all going to do. It was a performance. And I kind of thought that's what the Tableau conference one was, but no, this sounds cutthroat.
Yeah, it was funny because after the first round, all of us were like kind of shaking and we're like, what's happening? No one was expecting this. Like we're all kind of like, minor veteran folks, right? Like I think that like we all have experience with Tableau. No one's just coming in not knowing Tableau. And everyone was like, I thought I forgot. Like I was like, everything just went out the door. So yeah, it was interesting. But I like your approach better. A lot less anxiety inducing.
Definitely. Fantastic. Any other comments? Anyone in the chat seeing, comment about the amazing tips going to be shared and, being convinced to finally start using Figma or something similar in their workflow? That's what we're here for and what we absolutely love. But some absolutely amazing tips, and it's been a little bit since I've gone that hardcore into Tableau, so I'm like, oh, those will be awesome when I start going back in and really doing it. So really appreciate that. And then the designs, absolutely fantastic, AJ. The process of the wireframing and everything else, just it's great to see that overall process in something that I've tried to do or others have, but make it easier for us when it comes time to build, because sometimes it's not the data that's the worst, it's the actual design and getting stakeholders to be yay. So absolutely love it. Thank you both for presenting, for being here, and really just some amazing tips, processes, everything from you both, and really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yes,
Thank you so
thank
much.
you. Fantastic. So with that, into our closing, thank you everyone for joining, for being here for our 4-year Not the most extravagant event, but sometimes the best are just chill with amazing tips and amazing presentations overall. So thank you for everyone who joined. Thank you again, AJ, Kat. Really appreciate you being here with those amazing tips and presentation from TC26, the tip battle. We're taking them back. We're taking all this back with us, which is what we all want. So thank you to everyone. Stay tuned for more from us. We are getting everything going, going to be running more with all of us doing more events, reaching out. So please check out the QR code if you aren't already registered and following us and everything else. With that said, thank you. We appreciate you being here and just always coming to support us. Thank you to all of our supporters over the past 4 years and more. And we cannot wait to see you at our next event and more. Thank you, everybody. You have a wonderful day.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thanks all. Bye.
Bye.